Shalom, good evening. Welcome to Tuesday Night Live in Jerusalem. I'm Jeremy Gimpel. This is Ari Abramowitz. Tonight we stand on the eve of Yom HaZikaron, Israel's Memorial Day. Memorial Day in Israel is very real and very raw. Almost, it'd be impossible to find anyone in the land of Israel that doesn't know someone who fell in battle or was killed in a terrorist attack. And yet, through the tragedy of the wars here in Israel, a unique unity has been created among the Jews that live in the land. A sense of closeness, a sense of family, a sense of responsibility to one another. Tonight, as the siren goes off, every Jew in the land will stand for 2 minutes in silence, think, meditate, and pray for the fallen soldiers and the families they left behind. The only way to celebrate Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel's independence, is to feel the pain and the sorrow of Yom HaZikaron and recognize the sacrifice it took to bring us to where we are today. Yom HaZikaron isn't about only remembering the fallen soldiers. It's allowing the fallen soldiers to become a part of our memory. Our nation, over 3,000 years old, is built on our collective memory. We're a nation commanded to remember the Sabbath, to remember our exodus from Egypt, to remember our past. Tonight, we remember those who fought in the past to ensure our future, those that gave their lives to ensure our freedom. Tonight, we stand and pay respect and honor to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice to allow us to live as a free people in our homeland. Tonight, our thoughts, our prayers, our feelings are with the families they left behind. Tieh nishmatam tzrura betzror hachaim. Please, everyone, rise for the siren of Yom HaZikaron.
For so many of us, the pain of tonight is just too much to bear. How could we possibly put into words the grief and the anguish, the longing that we have for our loved ones who aren't with us anymore? How could we possibly explain it? How could we bring such a depth of emotion and bring it into words, into sounds? It's impossible. We can't. And just as we're struggling to find those words, we hear that siren. And the siren says it all. You know, sometimes all we can do is remain silent. When Moshe Rabbeinu, when he prophesied about the brutal death of our beloved Rabbi Akiva, how his skin, his flesh was raked off with scalding hot combs, he turned to God and he screamed out, he said, "This is the Torah and this is its reward?" To which God mysteriously exclaimed, "Silence." Aaron HaKohen, who loved peace and pursued peace, when his sons were consumed with fire, his holy sons consumed, the Torah says, "Vayidom Aharon," and Aaron remained silent. Sometimes that's all we can do, is to remain silent. We can thank Hashem for giving us this gift of the time that we did have with our beloved ones, the precious moments which sometimes we feel like we squandered. And we can commit ourselves to dedicating our lives to keeping their memories alive, to fulfilling their life's purpose. But again, we can't understand, and we can only remain silent. Our guest tonight is Rabbi Stuart Weiss, whose son Ari, Sergeant Ari Yehoshua Weiss, Zichrono Livracha, was slain. Now, while Ari was not a man of many words, he was extraordinarily beloved by everyone who knew him. His mother said that out of all her children, he had the most gentle and sensitive and empathetic soul. And everybody he encountered said that he had a smile always during good times and in bad. 3 weeks before Ari's 22nd birthday, his elite combat unit was on a special joint mission with the Mossad in which they conquered the Hamas headquarters in Shechem, and they uncovered so many documents that were explaining lists of terrorists and lists of planned attacks. His actions literally saved countless Jewish lives. And right as the mission was winding to a close, him and his dearest best friend in the world, Shai Chaim, their position was attacked, and Shai received a direct hit to the chest. And Ari overcame every natural human instinct of running away from live fire and sprinted to save his friend Shai. And right as he arrived, he sustained a direct hit to the neck, puncturing his lungs and killing him. Shai survived. That bullet really was meant for Shai. And Ari gave his life not only for Shai, but for all of us, for all of the Jewish people. So please join us tonight in remembering the life of Ari Yehoshua Weiss.
It's a picture that I like of him, so I took that. That's a picture from the newspaper. This is a bullet from the 21 bullets that they shot. And that's another one. And that's wings that he got that when he jumped out of a plane.
His name Ari Yehoshua Weiss, Ben Suzy Vishmo Menachem Halevi, Samar Rishon, this was his army ID number, Nolad B'Artzot Harbrit, Yudbet B'Cheshvan, 22nd of October, 1980.
Ari was 12. Very easygoing little boy, very into sports and his friends in America. He had heard a lot about Israel, and we had talked about it. He had never been. And Ari thought that he would never see another basketball again.
Aliyah Aretz, 1992, Nefal B'Krav B'Shechem, died in Shechem, and Kaftet Tishrei, 24th of Tishrei.
And so we bought him all his Michael Jordan posters and paraphernalia, baseball and basketball. And when he came here, he was pleasantly surprised.
Mispar Echad Hu, it means he was number one, which was what his sergeants used to say about him, Mispar Echad Hu.
Ari was the star of the 6th grade, as kids had heard about his room and asked if they could come over and see his room. And he was good at sports. And if a little boy is good at sports and comes to Israel, he'll make it.
Ari was not judgmental at all. At least not that I knew him. He was a little bit shy sometimes. He was an amazing friend. He would do anything I asked from him. He just wanted to make me happy all the time. I never remember once ever being sad or crying next to him. He was more like a brother for a while. After we got over the family connection, we just hung out a lot, just the two of us. and we started talking every night.
Ari went to a yeshiva high school, and it must be something in the air, but as they're completing high school, they can't wait to get into the Army.
Like most of his classmates, decided that he was going to serve in a combat unit. It wasn't something he asked us, but we accepted it.
Ari was scared, but very proud, and Ari was a little insecure, and so being one of the guys was very important to him.
He was a very gentle boy, with a very soft-spoken, very good to his friends, giving person, always a smile on his face, and virtually every picture you'll ever see of him, even when nobody else is smiling, he's smiling.
He was going to go into the Nahal Brigade, and Ari wanted very much to go into the elite unit. It was a 5-day, very rigorous training and weeding out course. There was over 400 applicants, and less than 100 would finish. So day 1, day 2, no phone call. They say within 2 hours, half the applicants are already out. By day 3, I'm ashamed to say that I had called the phone company, that something must have been wrong with my cell phone because I'm expecting a call. And after 4.5 days, he called and said, "I'm in. I did it. I'm in." And I lied and said, "I knew you could do it."
It was just like, I don't remember like 1 or 2 days passing before we had a conversation if he was in the Army, and tell me stories about the Army or, home, and we would straight away go out. This one time he called me from Ramallah. "What's up? How you doing?" And I couldn't hear him well because there was so much wind blowing. I said, "Where are you?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm in Ramallah." I'm like, "Okay, but why is there so much wind?" He's like, "Well, I'm in this house that we just evacuated." And I'm like, "You're calling me from a house you just evacuated in Ramallah?" He's like, "Well, what do you want? Either I call you from there, I don't call you at all." And I said, no, could, call me wherever you are, that's fine.
Most of his 26 months of military service were in active combat. He was an explosives expert. He was the best shot in his unit. He was always being called upon for all kinds of dangerous missions. Sleeping out in the rain, middle of the night, going and rooting out, looking for terrorists, sometimes having to blow up their homes. Not something he looked forward to, but he accepted it as part of his service.
We were in different units. Ari was in the Nahal Brigade, I was in the Paratrooper Brigade. Funny enough is there are hundreds of thousands of soldiers, and I got to serve with Ari one time in one place, and it was for about 2 nights. It was in Ramallah, and I got to serve and guard with him then very shortly. I mean, he had one mission and I had another one, seeing as we're different units, but this that was the only time I saw him as far as, fighting. He was young, and he was motivated, and I don't think we picked the time that we have. It's more important to have life in your years than years in your life.
I remember hearing on the radio a while back that Hebron had a pigua yari. Sometime after he came home and we went out, he said to me, they took them on Friday night to with a helicopter to Hebron because they needed to, secure the situation there. And he said that was like one of the one times he was so scared, and he just said to me, like, I really thought, like, I would die. And I said, chas v'chalila, I said, don't talk like that. And he's like, no, you don't understand, like, I really did. And I remember that was the first time I ever thought, like what would happen, God forbid. And I said, that can't happen, it's Ari. We're going to be together always.
He was part of a mission. The IDF had uncovered Hamas headquarters in Shechem, and his platoon was guarding the building, and they were going through and uncovering many valuable documents about terrorist activities. He went on guard with a friend, and the terrorists saw them and shot both Ari and his friend. His friend was wounded and still remains paralyzed from the waist down. And Ari was hit by one bullet that entered his left shoulder and punctured the lung, and he died there on the spot. The other soldiers returned fire. There was a major gun battle that broke out then. Eventually they destroyed the building from where the shots had come. And that information that Ari helped and his platoon helped to retrieve resulted in the saving of many, many lives and the arrest of many terrorists. Ari's body was brought here from, it had been in the Shomron, in the base near Shechem. We had the funeral on Tuesday, which was a very, very large funeral, 2,000 people. And then we had the Shiva process. It was just very hard to describe, overload of emotion and camaraderie from many, many people.
Bnei Israel did not become Bnei Israel by dying old. And this is the price we pay for living in our own land, free, where no one can tell us to leave. This is our home and we've returned, and this is the price we have to pay.
I've had the pleasure of really getting to know Rabbi Stuart Weiss over the past couple weeks. And after having many discussions with him, it really wasn't hard to see the courage and the determination and the leadership that he needed to bring his entire family out of the comforts and familiarity of their home in Dallas, Texas, bring them across the world to Ra'anana. But he did, and it was not long after they arrived that they became truly a prominent family in Ra'anana. They would immediately delve into chesed projects. They brought classes and shiurim and seminars. They helped so many other Olim families from all over the world acclimate to their life in Israel. And, you know, as we were discussing some of the pain that he went through, there's one story that popped out of my mind, and it has really been echoing inside me ever since, that at Ari's funeral on Mount Herzl, as Rabbi Weiss was standing there with the body of his son being buried right before him, he stood up and he made a plea to the over 1,000 mourners who were there for Ari, and he pled with them. He begged them, he said, please, when you leave here right now, when you're on your way home, please sing Am Yisrael Chai. Please sing the nation of Israel lives. For he knew that despite where he was in this cemetery and the pain he was in, just as the nation of Israel is eternal, so is his son Ari. Please join us in welcoming Rabbi Stuart Weiss.
So, Rabbi, you know, after experiencing such a tragic loss, what happens to you and your family on Yom HaZikaron? What does Yom HaZikaron mean to you?
I think every mishpacha shkula, every bereaved family will tell you that every day is a Yom HaZikaron. Every day we remember Ari, every hour, sometimes every minute. But on special days, we always say that we have at least 3 or 4 Yemei HaZikaron, tonight and tomorrow, and the Yortzeit, and Ari's birthday, and lots of special occasions remind us of him in a special way. But I think Yom HaZikaron for us is an opportunity to come together with so many other people, to join with other mishpachot shkulot, and to feel the love and the support that so many people have given us, and that is a nechama, that is something which helps to keep us going, and it's unique to Israel. It's something which makes us proud to live in Israel and to be part of a nation like Israel. And in a strange way, Ari's tragic end is not only a source of grief, but also a source of pride and strength because of the kind of life he lived.
You know, there was a famous article that was really circulated all around the world that was very moving. I was considering telling it, but I wanted to give you the opportunity because you told it in such a moving way about what happened just 17 days before Ari was killed.
Yeah, it was just before Rosh Hashanah time, and Ari's unit was in Shechem, and they were in a house there, and as part of a mission he was on for a long time in Shechem, which is a very dangerous place. And Ari told my wife Susie that he didn't have a lot to eat, he was hungry. It's difficult to get food out in the field. And Susie decided she would walk down the main street of Ra'anana, a chuzah, and she walked into a shawarma place that was one of Ari's favorites. And she said, my son's a soldier, he's on a mission in Shechem, he's hungry. And the owner of the store said, how many are with him? And she said, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 30, 32. And he stopped everything and had them pack up 64 shawarmas, 2 for each soldier, which is not really enough, but it's a start.
They may have been in lafas, not...
Yeah. And then as she walked back down to Chuzah, she stopped in another store, and another store, and another store. And everywhere she went, everyone opened up their store, and soon she had enough food for a truck. So she called the army, and the army said, okay, we can meet you. Somebody will bring the food, have it all brought to Ariel, and then we'll come in the army truck, we'll pick it up, and we'll bring it to the boys. And that's exactly what she did. And they called very, very jubilant when they got the food, and the whole unit was quite excited and singing to my wife over the phone. And the story was written up in a story in the Jerusalem Post called SS Mein Kind. And it was really a great moment. And 17 days later, Ari was killed.
So 17 days later he was killed, and there were mass chain letters around the world, everybody expressing gratitude to your family and love, but many people said that you would live to regret the fact that you made Aliyah. What do you say to those people?
I have no regrets at all that we made Aliyah. I believe it's a mitzvah from the Torah to live in Israel. It's something we all have to do. Every Jew has to do it. And you know that there are certain risks when you come here. Nobody expects it'll happen to them, of course. But in the back of your mind, somewhere deep inside, you know that's always a possibility. And you understand that this is not a cost-free existence. For 2,000 years, Jerusalem, Israel, was really just a cliche. It was an idea. It was a dream. It wasn't something real. We made it real, and it's something precious. Like anything precious, you have to guard it. Others want it, and therefore it does carry a price. And to make this dream real, we have to have an army, messengers of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, fulfilling His will. And in an army, when you fight wars, especially against cruel enemies, we know what can happen, and that unfortunately is the price we pay to have our own country and to come back to Israel and fulfill this prophecy. I will just tell this story that also helps to answer your question. Sometime after the Shiva, a woman came to see us. Don't know who she was. To this day, I couldn't tell you her name. She came in, she couldn't speak, she was tearful. And when we calmed her down, many people came to see us, but this was unusual. And she told us the following story. She said that she was Israeli, and when her son turned 16,